Welcome to the Rats Get Fat podcast. This week's episode, coming to you live and direct from the California high desert in Yucca Valley. Welcome to Rats Get Fat.
We're back. Rats Get Fat podcast. It's Jake Straat, and I'm joined by my friend
Zuzz Rains.
Man, what the hell? We're out in the desert, in the Yucca Valley,
Yeah, dude.
in the Morongo Basin, out in California. For everyone watching at home, we're sitting under a beautiful Joshua tree, and it's our first episode outdoors. What
Yeah,
the hell,
man.
man?
It's about time.
yeah.
I think you guys needed to do an outdoor episode, especially living where you do.
Well,
I mean, right? Yeah.
Dude.
we're joined by our incredible friend, Matt Howse, all
Hell
the
yeah.
way out in the desert. Hey, Matt.
Dude.
Hey guys, it's so good to have you here. I've never been on a podcast before. So is this what you say? You try to sound entertaining and tell anecdotal stories.
Hell yeah, man. That's about
Yes.
it. That's about
Yeah, I know,
that's
right?
about the size of it.
Like everyone's nice and loose, and then you put the microphone in front of them. Like, well, actually, it's a very funny story. You're going to laugh profusely.
Dude, it's like Star Trek out here, man.
Hey, wait till we get into the park. It'll fully feel like a Star Trek set.
Yeah? Holy.
A lot of that, all the outdoor stuff in that show was filmed. Most of it was filmed up at Vasquez Rocks, which is north of LA.
Yeah.
But it's similar kind of terrain. They don't have Joshua trees up there.
Wow.
But, yeah.
It's beautiful though.
So pretty much for everyone watching at home, we'd driven about 6 hours yesterday from San Diego all the way up into the middle of California to the Yucca Valley to hang out with Matt. He was gracious enough to let us
honored.
stay at his place
Thanks, man.
out in the desert.
Yeah.
And this was like an absolute must for us to come
Oh
and
yeah.
record this episode and spend a little bit of time with you, Matt.
Well, dude, the pleasure is all on this side of the table, I assure you. Seriously, like I was blown away that you guys even wanted to come all the way out here because we live in the fucking sticks. I mean, it's a mile and a half of what you found out last night. It's a mile and a half of dirt road to get here, and but you see what you get. It's just like total tranquility. I mean, this is our property. We're sitting on our own property, you know.
It's paradise, man.
I never thought I'd live in the desert, you know. So it wouldn't have occurred to me, you know.
Yeah.
And here we are. So
I feel like we spent so much time in the cities on this trip, so it's nice to get out into the countryside. And like coming from Australia, we used to driving fucking forever to get anywhere. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
no biggie
Yeah.
at all.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was
it
like
was no
nothing.
thing,
that
bro.
was like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like you learn that when you're 12. That's an easy drive.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Totally.
thanks so much for having us. This
You
is
kidding? Thanks
so
for coming
unreal.
all the way here. And it's great. Yeah, it's great having you guys here. And it's been awesome. Like, taking our walk this morning and just as you get to know each other, right? Like, pretty cool.
Yeah, it
Sort of
was
wild
nice.
I'm
coyote.
really stoked
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
We took the dogs. Matt's got 4 little chihuahuas. Him and his wife Bridget, they've got 4 little chihuahuas, and we took them all walking, and we saw some wild coyotes out here, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because you were telling us last night, there's like there's roadrunners, there's rattlesnakes, there's coyotes.
Oh yeah, we get all that stuff out here. Yeah, rattlesnakes, roadrunners, coyotes, owls, hawks, ravens, jackrabbits, little cottontail bunnies. I mean, it's totally wild kingdom out here, and one time a hawk, we think it was a hawk, just dropped like the innards of a bird just on the back patio over there.
Oh, no
Just like
way.
dropped it. It was just like just on the ground, you know.
no.
Yeah, it's just like normal stuff out here.
That's wild.
But I mean, just like it's just the sticks, you know. And it's like the total polar opposite of living in a city, where we don't have a lot of conveniences out here. Like Bridget and I are both vegan, as you guys know, and
Yes.
like a lot of food we eat, we can't get. It's an hour drive for us to get it. So I'll either load up, which is what I usually do on my run back from San Diego, or we have to drive to Palm Springs or Palm Desert, and that's like an hour plus away. But I think the inconvenience. So anyone who's thinking of moving here, it's really fucking inconvenient, really inconvenient, and but it is. But I think that's part of what keeps it really cool out here. Like if you're like, I want to walk 5 minutes to get coffee, then you better hope that coffee's at the end of your property,
Oh yeah.
Sure.
you know, or whatever. So that's cool. That's really, it's just, you have to keep food in your house. Like just have to think of things a little differently being out a little bit, but it's not, I mean, we're not exactly off the grid,
Yeah.
you know,
You have to kind of
not
think about it
mountaineering.
in the long run. But yeah, it's kind of nice, you know. You're out there, you got the privacy, but also you've got like actual good service out here. Your internet's like fucking speedy as.
Well, we got that we had really shitty internet until
Yeah.
yesterday, and we
Dude.
got that Starlink. I'd like an endorsement, please, Mr. Musk, or endorsement for these guys. I know you got the money.
Yeah, you got the fucking moolah.
We know you got the money.
Just got to run a power cord, and yeah, you're good to go. Satellite internet.
It's sweet.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm used to being out in the boonies in Australia and there's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure they still have plenty of 5G. I think that's why I can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know about 5G? It's not allowed in Japan or anyone. I'm just kidding. It's true.
I'd love to talk to you, Matt, about your story with your tattooing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you've been
Awesome, dude.
You've been tattooing a very long time. You've been tattooing for 23 years, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you started sort of up in the Bay Area, up in Oakland.
Yeah. When I first started, well, I technically did my first tattoo in Aptos, near Santa Cruz, and it was the most unorthodox non-curriculum apprenticeship that anyone ever had. I mean, it was just barely bits and pieces of anything. But I drive from the Bay down to Santa Cruz every week and work with this guy Jeff Bernacki is his name. Hopefully he's still around. I haven't talked to him in years. And for about 6 months, that was the drill. I'd go down there. By the time we started, he wasn't in a shop anymore. So we were doing it out of a bedroom of his apartment. And at that point, it'd been 10 years since I'd been out of the Army, and I've been trying to learn how to tattoo and doing a bunch of other things. And this was the closest I ever was to that chance. And I was like, even though this is fucking dodgy or whatever, like it wasn't that dodgy, but it was a bit dodgy. And I was still like, I wasn't in a position to say no. I knew no one else that was willing to help me. And I had friends at that point, a couple friends who were tattooers, but it was like, dude, you're in your 30s, like now you want a tattoo and you have this good job. And it's like, I don't now want a tattoo. I've always wanted a tattoo. I just didn't know how to break into it in those years. It wasn't like now. I mean, you can watch a YouTube video. It's like how to get an apprenticeship,
Sure.
but it was just so different. And it started, and that was about a 6 month, going down there once or twice a week, and then that was my apprenticeship, and it wasn't much of anything. And then he bailed out on me just to take some time off, not realizing that I wasn't being a hobbyist or something. It was very unclear, and so then I was left to my own devices at that point.
Hey, you, listen up! This season of Rats Get Fat is sponsored by the Good Guy Supply. Since 2006, this Canadian team of seasoned tattoo professionals has crafted quality supplies, and they are obsessed with every detail from their tools to the artistry. They are committed to delivering premium supplies at affordable prices. Whether you're tattooing in the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere, check them out. You will not be disappointed. A huge thank you to Good Guy Supply for supporting our show. Now back to the episode. Before we get into that, can we talk about, so you were heading down to like Santa Cruz area to go to Jeff's place to learn how to tattoo. This guy's like giving you a chance. He said, yeah, I'll teach you how to tattoo. Your first instance, you went there and he got you to do a tattoo on him?
The very first day, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I knew a little bit about apprenticeships, very little. And I figured you draw for a while and maybe, I didn't really think about whether or not painting was part of the curriculum or not, which it clearly is after, you do it. But I was pretty ignorant and I had no idea how to break into it. Information wasn't anywhere. And where I lived and where I grew up and where my life was and where I was in life, I had never had access to that stuff. I had tattoo magazines, a lot of tattoo magazines. And so I had no idea how to get into it and how it starts or anything. So when it actually did start, I was super surprised. He's like, "All right, bro. So what we're gonna do today is see this spot on my arm. You're gonna take this pen, you draw on this plume of smoke right on, man, and you're gonna tattoo it." Jeff, I hope this isn't a horrible impression of you, dude. And it's gonna be fucking sick, man. And I was like, "What?" You know? He's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be fucking awesome." And oh, okay, cool. All right. And then he showed me how to set up. There was like an aluminum coastal machine. It was two machines. They're both aluminum because they just sounded fucking horrible, right? It sounds like if your catalytic converter gets stolen, you start your car. That's what these things started like.
It's just like
something's fucked up, you know?
a rattly old bastard of a machine.
Oh yeah, and I still remember the sound, and I was like, all right, well, it's his arm, right? Like, and you know, I went and I just started, and I drew this thing on. And he's like, okay, and it was a tight 5 and a 7 mag, and I was just like, and I just like went to town on this dude's arm, and I remember pulling a couple lines. He's like, all right, bro, that's too deep. All right, man, that's just not so deep. And I somehow lined this thing, and I hadn't. He wasn't like, this is how you whip shade, this is how you this is how you that. All I had to go on was my like whatever videos that I recorded in my head when I got tattooed.
Okay.
What they were doing, I was like, all right, he's fucking, he's whipping it out, and and he's this, and he wipes and he looks at it. And then okay, and then he fucking and looks at it. All right, I'm gonna do exactly that, and that's all I kind of had to go on, you know. Yeah. And this little plume of smoke, it must have been this big on his arm, you know, black. It was just basically whipped black at the end. Well, I'm sure it was really smooth, and I'm sure it looked great. And it took me a couple of hours, and I just remember at the end of it just being just completely wiped out, like like I took a wipeout drug, you know. It was just, and that was my first introduction to it. And then I remember tattooing a couple of his friends, and it was pretty early on. He had this drawing of a Medusa head with a bunch of snakes, and the drawing actually, if I remember correctly, the drawing wasn't. It was. If it got fleshed out, looking at it now, like if it got fleshed out, it would have been really cool. The movement was cool, and the snakes, and who gives a shit, right? So it was 20-something years ago. So that was like within the first few weeks, month of going down there, I started this back piece on him.
Holy.
No
on him.
way.
What the fuck?
And I remember for a while when I'd go down there, I would just go down there and work on his back for a while. Just have like as our weekly appointment. I didn't get paid though, which I shouldn't have. And no one should have paid me.
That's
and
crazy.
they didn't.
What was the back piece of Matt?
It was this Medusa, that Medusa
okay.
head. Yeah. And that's how it started. And it was just, I think once we were going, it didn't occur to me that like, so am I going to paint sheets of flash? It was like, fuck, I was so like drunk on the fact that I was tattooing now, you know? And I was like, I came home and I was like, you know, just super stoked. Just couldn't believe I actually got to hold a machine and do a tattoo. Yeah, I fucking, first day I did a tattoo or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was 18 or anything. I was 32. Like, I started later, and it was like being a little kid discovering something for the first time. You just knew it would be awesome, and then you got to do it, and it was awesome. You know?
Yeah.
Sick.
And, a long time to wait, though.
Did you, with the Medusa head, did you finish his back? Like, did you guys start and then finish his back, or was it like what was the process of like having a few sort of instances doing tattoos to then like taking on something like someone's whole back? Like that's a lot, man.
Well, I don't know that it's finished. I think the last time I tattooed him, so every few years he'd pop back into my life and be like, like, hey, how you doing? You doing really, like every few years he'd come in and I'd be in a better shop, and then I'd be in a better shop. And then the last time I tattooed him, I was at Spider Murphy's, and I worked on his back a little bit. And it was, and I couldn't even tell you where it began or where it ended that day. I don't remember how long I tattooed him or anything. So I don't know if it's finished or not.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay,
I hope he's good. He
was
was the sweetest dude. Like he was just on his trip, right? Like I had this idea of I wanted a tattoo and just go for it. And well, as you do, right? You're like, once I start this thing, I want to go 1,000,000 miles an hour till I drop dead. And when he pumped the brakes, I was like, fuck, you know. And then so I just like, well, I'll keep going. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, once in a while he would pop back in, but I hope he's awesome. He was. I mean, he put a machine in my hand. He fully gets credit for that. Like I'm forever grateful. However discombobulated or non-traditional it was. Super grateful, you know.
Because you'd spent years previously getting tattooed in Oakland and like around the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Sort of before you decided that you wanted to be a tattooer. Like you obviously knew you wanted to be a tattooer forever, but like you were like engrossed in the industry. You were getting tattooed. Like you were saying last night to us, the tattoo shop seemed like this, like, I don't know, really like a where you belonged, you know, like.
Oh, like yeah. When I started going into Sacred, so I started getting tattooed in Sacred. It must have been 99, early 2000, something like that. And I met Miss Mickey, and the first thing she did was like some flames on my arm that had been lasered, and got my artillery cannons over them now. But that was the first thing that I ever got from Mickey, and I just really like getting tattooed by her, and I started going back and just getting this and that, and she did a dragon on my chest. It goes over my shoulder, and she ended up finishing out the sleeve, and that was the time where I really started getting feverish again for wanting to tattoo. So when I got up the strength, I told her, I said, hey, Mickey, you know, I've always wanted to, and at this point we got to be friends. I built a website for her because that's what I did in the 90s. I did web design and graphic design and all that. And I said, hey, I've always wanted a tattoo, and da-da-da. And she's like, whoa. Like, look, and she did the same thing any of us would do now. Like, you can't come in hot. You go, ooh, we got to cool this down. Like, whoa. Like, we're friends. I already have. She had Danny, my friend Danny Boy Smith was her apprentice at the time. She's like, I already have an apprentice. Doesn't really work like that, and she pretty quickly shut me down. But she was super sweet about it. It was like, you're gonna have to find your way, like, you know. But I can't. And I was like, okay, I get it. So that's, you know, in some months after that is when I started working with Jeff. Well, while I was working with him, I was still getting tattooed by her. I was still going into Sacred all the time, hanging out, bothering him, whatever, just trying to be around it, really. And once Jeff kind of bailed out on me, I actually at this point had sold my house in El Sobrante, and my wife at the time and we moved into this loft in Oakland. And it was like an industrial area. So I built a little tattoo studio inside the loft, and I started tattooing people out of there. I had a Craigslist ad. It was, I mean, looking back, it was what I had to do. I had no resources. I didn't know. So it was just what I had to do, you know. And and I would go into Sacred, and Mickey, seeing my predicament and being my friend, she'd say, okay, next week, bring whatever you've got photos of, bring it in here and I'll look at it. And so next week I bring the photos, and she'd take like most of them out, like we were talking about last night. She'd take most of them out and say, okay, you keep these two. You don't show these to anybody. So okay, and I listened, 100%. And whatever she said was the word of God. And then you know, I came in there another time, and she and Danny Boy taught me how to build needles. I had no idea how to build needles. I have them to thank for that. I think I could still build one now. Who the fuck's gonna build a needle though? But and she, you know, she would help me with my drawing. She would help me with layout and composition, you know, just like basic art stuff, all the way down to things that just apply, like just really gave me all this information that I could like and really love and support that I had no way of getting from anybody else. And she was very clear. You're not my apprentice. I say, no, you're not my apprentice. You're not my mentor. No, I'm not your apprentice. And, but she would totally, I mean, I have her to thank for a lot of it. And, yeah. And then a couple of years in, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I got to work with her for a bit too. So that was pretty great.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a little bit.
I figured. Yeah.
So you were down in Santa Cruz, you were tattooing Jeff's back, and you started the Medusa. Now, like, you started to step up and get into different tattoo shops, better tattoo shops. You were kind of like progressing. Your art was progressing. You're making flash. You ended up at Spider Murphy's, which is like possibly like a really important part of your life. right?
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was a fairly good shop. No, I'm just kidding. Spider Murphy's was, I mean, Spider Murphy's was so far out of reach for me. It wasn't even a consideration at any point, you know? Like, but yeah, like I somehow managed to get a job there. And yeah, I was 18 something years ago. I'm still blown away that as green as I was and how like unclear my direction was and my work was pretty all over the place. I hadn't honed in on anything. And whatever Theo saw, I'm eternally grateful. I mean, to my dying day, right? Like, yeah, I still trip out on like where I went, how fast, like, yeah, it's pretty wild.
The progression of the tattooing. How did you go from working at other tattoo shops in like the Bay Area and stuff to what was the process on how you got your job at Spider Murphy's?
Well, at the time, this was 2006. At the time, my wife at the time and I were planning a move back to Australia, where I was born. And we had this whole game plan, and my son was going to go to school there, to college there, because he was graduating in a year and blah, blah, blah from high school. It was this whole plan. Well, his mom, my first wife, she was sick with cancer. I ultimately decided this is not a good time. I'm not going to move right now. And I was working at Sacred in Oakland. I got to work with Mickey for a couple of years. Well, she had left and gone over to Mom's on Haight Street in San Francisco, and then she opened her shop, Fortune, up in Portland. And so I was there, and I had friends of mine I worked with. But anyway, I was kind of figuring out what I was going to do next. I knew that I was like, I needed to, whatever direction I needed to be around the kind of tattoos like strictly that that I wanted to do. And Sacred is an awesome shop. It was just I just felt the need to just keep. I do that. I get itchy feet and I keep moving. It has never changed. And I was like trying to plot my next move. And my friend Devin Blood, who's a tattooer, he still lives in the Bay Area. He still lives in Oakland. He's a painter as well. He's fucking amazing. His story is pretty crazy too. What he went through. But Devin said, "Hey, dude, I heard Theo's looking for someone up in Spider Murphy's." And I was like, like, well, he's gonna whoever he wants, right? And I was like, good cool story, you know. And he kept tattooing, and then like later in the day, he yells over, he's like, "Dude, did you call Theo yet?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And this is so outside of Devin's like personality to be like pushy and kind of annoying, but like in a good way, not in a bad way, Devin, like in a good way. And he did it, and it was enough that I was like, fine, dude, I'll call him. And I fucking looked up Spider Murphy's on the internet at the shop, and I called and nervously talked to Theo and like said, I guess, enough right things that he wanted to meet with me. And then, yeah, we met at Trevor's bar next door to the old Spider Murphy's on at 939 Tamalpais in San Rafael, and had a beer. And that night he offered me a job, and I couldn't believe it. And even now, I think I see it differently than I saw it back then, you know. But it was the single biggest one of the. I mean, besides Mickey, the single biggest thing that happened to me in tattooing, you know, is like the time I got to work there, and then the next 7.5 years.
It's a wild opportunity.
It changed my life. I mean, anyone who worked there changed their life, 100%. That's why people want to work there too, among other reasons. Change your life. You know?
This season of Rats Get Fat is sponsored by Industry Tattoo Supply. In this day and age of e-commerce, we've never had so many options right at our fingertips. This also extends to tattoo supplies. And with so many options comes a choice, whether to buy from global entities or to support local businesses. This is where Industry comes in. They're an Australian family-owned business who pride themselves on taking care of not only individual artists, but the community as a whole. They'll supply you with both quality products and quality information. If you'd like to find out more about the ways Industry is supporting local artists, be sure to check out their website, as well as their YouTube channel. Links to both can be found in the description. Thanks to Industry Tattoo Supply for sponsoring the show. Now back to the episode.
Like, it's incredible because like you guys all put that book together, you know, the Spider Murphy's Red Book. We've got it hanging up at our shop in Cairns. I've been looking at it since I was like, I don't know, 16 or something. When I was like started getting tattooed at 17, I was like collecting those kind of tattoos. I didn't even know what they were, like this style of tattoo, but Like I was showing you last night, I've got multiple of your
I know that's
designs
wild, dude.
tattooed on me.
Oh, it's so trippy.
I was like, dude, I got to show you. And it's funny that Zuzz here actually did the tattoo.
yeah, that's even wilder, dude. And
Yeah,
they're better than what I painted.
Oh,
So
thanks,
that's
man.
awesome.
Imagine if they were like dog shit though.
Yeah,
You'd be like,
yeah.
oh, that's nice.
Who the
bro."
fuck did that?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Cool.
When I did,
oh,
when
a
I did
rabbit.
those tattoos, I didn't think you'd ever fucking see them. So I'm glad they did a good job.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
someone looks at the tattoo and they say what it is, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, a panther.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone ever, same with gifts.
Yeah,
Same
I
with
was-
gifts. If someone's like, ooh, a sweater.
Wow.
You're
A
like, man, you're
sweater.
going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Everyone watching at home, hello. You can see us all sitting under the beautiful Joshua tree. I'll include in the video for everyone watching a photo of my tattoos and a photo of the flash sheet, which I
Yeah.
picked from of Matt's designs that were in the first Spider-Murphy book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you.
But I don't know. It's incredible. Like what we were talking about last night when we were sort of in your office and you're showing me showing us some of your paintings and stuff. Like your use of blue and like a few other various things like really attribute to like your own style, and like you can look at a painting of yours and just know instantly who's done it.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, dude. Yeah, that's a huge thank you. I never know how to deal with the compliments, I guess. But thank you, dude. Yeah, I guess I like that blue.
It's
Wow,
sick.
the quote of the year. I tell you, fellas, I like that blue.
The electric blue.
It's electric blue.
Oh yeah.
Electric blue.
It's nice though because it's it reads so well, and it like no one else really that I see is doing it like that. You know what I mean? So it's such like a feather in your cap where people are then going to seek you out to then go about getting tattooed from you because it looks different to other people's tattoos.
Dude, thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, I think over time, like, when you first start tattooing, you first start painting traditional flash, it's all looking at other people's flash. And I just kind of had this, like, whatever, clear thought, if it is, or not. And the longer you do it, the less you're looking at other people's thing, and the more you're just like, it's never autopilot because you're always making clear choices with what you draw, but I think it's just I guess it's just confidence in knowing what you're going to put there is going to be okay versus like, well, what did Jerry do? Or, what did Owen Jensen do? Or what did whoever do,
Yeah.
I mean, Ed was like the guy too, right? Like what would Ed Hardy do?
Yes,
And-
what would Ed Hardy do?
Yeah. And then, but over time you just start looking at, it isn't like, fuck them, I don't need them. It's not at all. It's just, I'm on my trip and I'm just going to keep going on my trip. And then, I step back and I look at it and like, and like someone else will point it out. You'd be like, fuck, that is a lot of blue. Is that too much blue? and then I don't sleep.
Never
But-
enough blue.
Never enough
Yeah.
blue.
It looks great,
good,
mate.
Well, thank you. Dude, thank you. But, it's just, I guess I like that color,
His signature, man.
Yeah, it
thanks,
is
man.
signature.
Yeah.
Because did you find like before your time at Spider Murphy's, you were obviously still making art, you were painting flash, but then you've gone to Spider Murphy's, you've sort of worked under Theo, who, he's a genius when it comes to this stuff.
Mm,
And then
100%.
did you find that your art shifted and sort of changed into something new where there was like inspiration by like working around the people at Spider Murphy's? Like what happened to your art in that instance from like when you were working, where you were working with Devon to now going to Spider Murphy's? Like what was the shift?
I think the first thing I learned moving over to Spider Murphy's is to just start dropping things. I think that was the first thing that Theo was really trying to hammer into me, is just start dropping these things. Like, why is that texture in the tattoo? Why is this? Why is that? And and as you start dropping things and stripping it away, then you see the actual thing. And then you build around the thing instead of being like, I want to make sure that this anatomical heart has 3 traditional flowers and 11 blood drops and it has to have a swallow and it has to have a this and it has to have a that. And you're like, dude, you want to throw the whole kitchen sink and that's a hand-sized tattoo.
Mm.
And so that's where I started learning about like what's in a tattoo. If it's not adding to the tattoo, it shouldn't be in the tattoo, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like, there was that, and then there was like, and this is Theo's genius. And in my humble opinion, and honestly, I'd venture to guess in any of us who have ever worked at that shop, he's a fucking genius. He's my favorite tattooer of all time. He always will be. I'm lucky to have my back piece from him. I'm lucky to have worked with him as long as I did, and I'm lucky he's my friend. Like, I just had to say that. He's a fucking genius. He can look at something that you're doing and be like, I see what you're trying to do. That sucks. And then pull out like these 3 books and be like, look at this. See how they did this? And then they didn't put all the other crap in there. This is just this thing. So take that piece of that, this with this, blow this up, put this in the front, and you do these things in a minute. Now you've laid out something that's like just a million times better. And then it just starts the wheels turning on this like idea that you're trying to say the most with the least, right? You don't want anything extra in a tattoo that isn't adding to the tattoo. If it's and as you start stripping that away, you start realizing what you can add that's really cool. I don't know. It's just like it was just a different way of looking at it, and it forced me to really just start narrowing down what it is I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I did portraits when I went there. I still actually not nowadays. I haven't done one in a while, but once in a blue moon, I would still do them for a long time. But I did a lot of portraits when I went there. I ended up pretty much phasing those out. A lot of other kind of different stuff that wasn't really my wheelhouse. That was just like walk-in stuff. As I got busier, I got to phase that out. And the more you narrow it in, the more you start realizing that that's the thing, is the narrowing it in. And then you just keep doing that until it's over. You just keep narrowing it in, you know?
It's an incredible insight to like traditional tattooing, because I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast, even us as traditional tattooers, like a lot of the time there is extra bullshit and there's stuff that complicates it and takes away from the simplicity of it. So I like the fact of like narrowing it down to its bare bones and then maybe like adding a flourish here or a flourish there to like complement it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just things. Yeah, it's like, I mean, to this, and this is when I started that, and of course my art, my everything's changed so much since, 18 years ago or whatever. But even to this day, I still have this similar process in my head where I'll kind of sketch a thing in, and I'll just go through this whole series of questions like, is it this? Is it that? Da, da, da. And that helps me kind of decide whether it stays or goes, right? Is it adding to the tattoo? Is this a better tattoo with it or without it? And it's a black and white question, right?
Yes.
If it can be, or you just have to make a decision. And if you make those choices all the time, then I feel like you're just going to keep narrowing it down. You're going to keep narrowing it down to whatever the thing is, to whatever the thing is that Ed Hardy figured out, to whatever the thing is that Theo figured out, whatever the thing that Philip Liu figured out, and it's like some magical place, but they just kept narrowing it down, I think, to the one, whatever the thing is, the idea. It's a rabbit hole, right? You can just go down it for forever.
Yeah.
Thinking about that kind of stuff. And that's why tattooing there's so much more to it than the guy walking down the street with a fucking eagle on his arm. It's just like, it's so much more to it than that,
Yeah. It's fascinating. How did you how'd you get into the sharks, man?
Yeah, let's talk about sharks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the sharks. Well, as the story goes, and it's a true one. 1975, Jaws came out. 6 years old, and something my dad did for me that turned out to be a good thing was take a 6-year-old to go see Jaws, and it scared the crap out of me. It imprinted in me, and like my dad's been dead for years and years now, but like according to my mom, right away I started drawing sharks. I was always into drawing. Always, my grandfather, my mom's dad, he was a fantastic illustrator, artist. Worked for the U.S. State Department. Never made a career out of it, but he had books and books of just amazing stuff. And it was because of him I wanted to ever draw anyway. So yeah, I started drawing sharks, and I'd always drawn sharks and just always loved sharks. It's shark nerd, right? Like most of us are pretty nerdy, and anyone who likes a particular animal is fucking nerdy.
Yeah.
Cat people,
Oh yeah.
you know, like I
there's
really
something
like
else.
turtles, like I know, and yeah, and then when I started, so years later when I start tattooing, I would any chance to do anything kind of sharky or whatever, I would do it. I would do sharks here and there. I painted a few, I remember, but it was really, it was that 2011 book when, I don't know how many sharks I have in those sheets, but like, not that many. But the next time I went to a convention, it was like a couple people wanted sharks, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then just over the years, it just got to be shark.
Now, Matt, I've followed you on Instagram for a very long time, and I see you tattooing all the time, and you're tattooing sharks like daily.
Yeah.
You're now the shark guy.
Yeah.
It's wild for someone who's not even coastal, right?
Not anymore.
No.
I was forever, but yeah, for the last year, not coastal. Yeah, I'm like the desert shark man.
Yeah,
The
dude.
desert shark man this week. Yeah.
It's an
Will he
incredible
get it
thing.
buried before the sun comes up? Stay tuned.
Find out.
Stay tuned. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I recently left Full Circle Tattoo. I was barely, because I'm always on the road, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. I'm barely part of any shop or anything like that. Yeah, so I recently left Full Circle Tattoo and started taking appointments over at Golden Days Tattoo in San Diego. Just change the scenery. As I explained earlier, I like to change scenery here and there. And but my last day there, I ended up tattooing 5 sharks. So that was like my record in one day. Even at a convention, I've never done like 5 in a day. And they were all drawn on. Were they all drawn on? I think they were all drawn on. I almost never stencil sharks anymore. So I think they were all drawn on.
Yeah. They're always like super cool and flowy. And,
Thank you,
like,
dude. Thank
I love
you.
like the gap filler sharks. It's like this random weird gap, and then you put a shark in there. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, thanks, man. I really, and I never thought I would, but I get such a kick out of making a shark or making some animal fit into a weird space.
Yeah.
And like distorting its body. Like if the bones are made of gelatin, it would work.
For sure.
Or just certainly in that acidy, shimmery world, it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just fun to do. That's really at the end of the day. I'm trying to just do things that are fun and entertaining to do, right? Because I know if I am entertained, hopefully they're stoked on the tattoo.
Yeah.
That's what we all hope.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about art as well. You can just like take it and fucking warp it as much as you want.
Yeah.
There's no real rules, I guess.
It just has to look cool. That's the only rule.
As long as it's sick.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's awesome, man. I think that's how I first saw your work. Was like
thank you.
I'd seen your work in the Spider Murphy books, but like I think just scrolling through Instagram, seeing your sharks and thinking, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because I got a weird shark fixation.
Yeah, it's fucking
Got a little
rad.
problem.
Well, they're
sick.
badass.
Yeah.
I've got 2
Thank you.
sharks tattooed on me. I fucking love it, man. It's so
Yeah,
sick.
dude.
I love shark. I mean, obviously, I love sharks. That's goes out saying. But yeah, I mean, sharks are pure energy, right? So a shark in almost any pose on the body. Same with I guess snakes you can make. You can make it look like a dead snake if you want, or if you're not careful. But like sharks, they have such an energy to them that just by putting them on, they just radiate energy, right? Like. In a tattoo sense, it's just like an automatic thing. A shark is just going to have a ton of energy, you know?
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a powerful animal.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a very powerful animal. It's probably my favorite animal.
The great white or the hammerhead?
Probably great white. I mean, yeah, probably great white. Growing up in California, being from Australia, it's got to be the white shark. Got to be a white pointer.
Yeah. Can we talk about that as well? Because you're an Aussie.
I am technically. Yeah.
Everyone
My
that
passport says that.
Yeah.
everyone that we speak to out here has said, "Oh, you guys are gonna love Matt.
Yeah.
He's a fucking full blood, true blue, dinky dye fucking Aussie."
Do they say that?
No.
No, I didn't think so. I was like, he's American as the fucking day is long. Yeah.
Well, no. They've told us that you're very proud to be Australian, which you should be. It's a wonderful thing
Yeah.
to be an Australian.
I am. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I am proud to be an Australian, like I'm really close to my family over there. And I mean, I've always been connected to it, and unfortunately never lived there where I remember living there. But yeah, we used to take a lot of trips over there, even when I was a little kid and stuff. And yeah, just very connected to my home country, and but yeah, I've always felt super connected to Australia, and I talk a lot, so that's probably going to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I talk a lot. I live in the desert, and I was born in Australia. Everybody seems to know that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a beautiful thing because a lot of your earlier Flash, especially from like that first book, it's Australian tattoo Flash. So we living in Australia, we get a lot of people coming in and seeing that and being able to really connect with this Australiana Flash. And they're like, it's fucking unreal, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's like, I don't know, isn't it? It's a fascinating thing to be an Aussie living out here, and I can definitely see why you stay and why you love it out here. It's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's you mean stay in the desert or stay in America?
Yeah, here or there or anywhere.
America's been better, but
Sure.
But I mean, this is where, like, after you've been in a place for a while, my son lives here still. My family, my mom, my brother, they all still live here, and so it's unlikely I'll ever end up back in Australia, But I always feel super connected. I'll always keep a passport, and I'll always always be connected. I don't know. Yeah, it's my home. It's technically my home country, and I don't know. I don't know if everybody who is from somewhere else feels like that. Like, when my dad brought us over here from Australia, he grew up in Broken Hill, which is Australians know it's on the border of New South Wales and South Australia, and tiny silver mining town. It's where like Mad Max 2 was filmed out there, and it's super arid, dry, like Nowheresville. It's a silver mining. And so he wanted to come to America and live the American dream and basically come here and assimilate as an American and not be an Australian anymore. And he was able to pretty much ditch his accent.
Really?
And sound like an American. Like most people didn't know he was from Australia. And that was probably within, 5-6 years of being here.
That's wild.
And it was like he almost like, he didn't seem terribly interested. Of course, it was a different time and he just wanted out, but I'd always felt connected, knowing I was from Australia. Whatever, I always felt connected to it. I didn't feel the way he did, I guess.
Yeah.
About a lot of things, but it's my home country. Like America, Australia has a lot of crazy history, with the English.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the Scottish could attest to the same thing, and a lot of other people too. And it's like Americans and Australians I feel like are very kindred anyway. So I got both.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
It's very interesting being out here because a lot of people don't understand us when we're talking to them. We've had a lot of instances where people are like, what? And I was like, we'll have to repeat it and like slow it down.
Yeah.
And I say, where are you from, man? Are you English?
Oh
They
yeah.
always do English.
Yeah. I'm like,
Guys
no,
from
man.
UK?
Like,
Everybody
nah,
thinks Stu's from Australia.
Yeah, really?
Everybody, they're like, where what part of Australia are you from? He's like, not from Australia.
I'm Welsh.
Like a whole different thing, It's pretty funny.
That's incredible that you brought up Stu because you are wearing Stu's first tattoo back from his surgery.
Yeah,
Like,
it's one of his eyes. Yeah, like his big eye surgery a couple years ago. Yeah.
Because Stu lost vision in one of his eyes. He's still tattooing and fucking killing it. But that's so
his
sick.
tattoos are amazing.
That's so sick that you got one of his black skulls because yesterday I went and got a black
Yeah,
skull.
dude, I was so stoked.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Like we had we had loads of opportunities to get tattooed out here, but I thought, I want to get tattooed by Stu Cripwell.
Fuck yeah.
He's a really wonderful man.
He is. I mean, anyone who's ever met Stu loves Stu, like loves him, and he's just can't say enough good stuff about him. And I can't wait to hear the episode that you guys recorded with him because his insight into tattooing, the way he breaks down things, the way he looks at things. Without kissing his ass, in my opinion, certainly for a long time, if not still, the most bitten traditional tattooer living is Stu. And everybody, when that book came out, man, you just saw it everywhere, and they were trying to do what Stu does, and it's like it doesn't work that way. You can't just duplicate. It's not a style. It's the way he hearing him talk about that is a really cool thing. Hearing him talk about how he just like, puts things together and just makes them look like they do. And it's not that he's trying to do anything. It's just how he sees it should be drawn, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's super distinctive.
Oh man. Yeah. I have a few tattoos from Stu and I love every one of them. Yeah. And, again, getting to work with him for those years too was just very, very, really meaningful. For a lot of reasons.
That's sick, man. I feel like you look at those old Spider Murphy books, and everyone has a distinct style, but I feel like they all go together so well as a book. It doesn't feel disjointed or anything when you're flipping through those pages. It all feels uniform. Would you say that's mostly just due to Theo's influence, or just being around each other or in that same environment and space?
So here's what happened. Theo would come in this uniform. I don't know where he got it. And he would have a stick in his hand. He would start waving it at us, and he'd say, "You fucking step in line. You're going to start paying." But he got us in line. He fixed it. He fixed all of our problems. No, I'm just kidding. So what happened was, how it went was, as this idea for this book came together. So we did a shop set of Flash, I remember. There was 2 sheets from each of us. It was a 10-page set of Flash, and it was 2 sheets from each of us, and it was like early that year, whatever, 2011, maybe in late 2010. I think it was late 2010. So we did these sheets, and then a couple months after we put them out, Theo was like, "Hey, we have this idea for a book," and we all sat down, and Mickey Valletto, who owns Tattoo Life, it was like he totally backed us and was like totally behind what we were doing. And but this was Theo. This was Theo's brainchild. This was Theo's everything. And as we started getting everything together, we had to figure out our routine. And the routine was, because back then we worked 5 days a week. So you do all your tattoos all day, and you paint all night. And your days off, you paint, dawn till 1 a.m. or whatever. But every single day, whatever we were working on, we'd bring them in the morning. We were all pretty. I remember we were all pretty good about getting there early, well before our appointments during this, and every single day we'd bring in all of our sheets and look at them. And we'd already discussed what paints we were going to use. And vibe, and how the paper was, the stain treatment was going to be, and all that. So it was going to have a uniform look to it. But what I really think happened was every day of all of us bringing in all this stuff every day was flushing it, again, going down to a point. It just, the later sheets we were tired and just like stressed out and angry, and you're like, just like, when is this fucking over? And then after we were done and we were like celebrating a couple days later, like, sorry, we each need to do 2 more sheets, it turns out. Like, fuck! And
no way.
But what happened, especially in those later sheets, it really started getting focused down. Like, had another 10 sheets come, we didn't have it in the tank at that moment, but had another 10 sheets come from that point, I think that would have been even more like vibey. Yeah. And it was already really vibey. And I wasn't aware of this is what I'm talking about at all as an idea at that time. I was just drowning in like trying to figure out how to paint this much Flash and not make it suck. Yeah. But this is all Theo's, like, and again, this goes back to like what a genius this dude is. This was Theo's. He knew what direction this was all going, and he was watching it and kind of pushing it in that direction. And we were just like holding on and trusting and painting, because that's really what we were doing. We were trusting that what he was telling us was the way. We were just doing it. And looking at those sheets every single day, I think, and going in there, and it would kind of charge you up. You're like, fuck, man, Heather got this much more done than, last night, or so-and-so, like Stu got this much more done. I got to fucking step it up. And it kept everybody it kept everybody going, because as tired as I am, I know everyone else is too, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah. And I think that's just that's what created the look, that process.
Yeah. It's that group effort kind of thing.
Because it felt like that. And there were times we'd all be in the back, if like, I remember you'd bring painting stuff in. If I had some dead time, whatever I was working on, I'd be there painting it, you know? Any spare time at all, you had to paint, you know?
You'd have to get it done, I guess, in quite a quick succession as well. Because I find, I don't know if you're like this as well, but I find when you're painting and maybe a few months go by, or 6 months, a year goes by, you look at your paintings you did then, and they're completely different. It's almost like someone else did them sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like as a group trying to get a book together, if you wanted it to look all uniform, it would kind of have to be done in quite a quick succession.
Yeah, and for sure, it was all about. I mean, the only like the main ingredient to that whole book working was momentum.
Yeah,
it was pure momentum. Had the momentum gotten fucked up, we would have struggled to get that thing done in time, because the whole goal was to get it done in time for Mickey to get it printed and then have it at the London convention that year. It was 2011 London convention, and we all went and had this like huge, like 30-foot booth, and it was just this massive book release. Like we got, that was the first year I got to work at the London convention, and yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, it would have been huge.
Yeah. And again, looking back, I see it even differently now than I did then. And then you're like, wow, this is really cool. Looking back, it was like, that was a really significant moment in our lives,
Yeah.
Really significant.
It's a significant moment in tattooing, I think.
We're lucky to be part of that, or
Yeah.
just get to see it.
It's crazy.
For traditional tattooing, it was probably, one of the most important things that's happened in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
It was like a full cornerstone of like where traditional tattooing sort of went in the world, and like all of the traditional tattooers kind of got their hands on this book where the concepts were so far from like most other traditional tattoo concepts, the normal concepts like the eagles and the snakes and the fucking clipper ships and stuff. It was more skewed into this like cosmic and like twisted, incredible concepts, like these strange new concepts for traditional tattooing.
Yeah.
And it fully influenced so many people, I think, and changed the way we see tattooing today, which is incredible. It's so marvelous that you had a part of that.
I feel, I mean, I'll always, I'll always have that, right? Like, it was a pretty big thing, and it's very trippy how fast the time goes, how fast the time stacks up past that point, and how over time, every couple of years, there's kind of another buzz about that book. And like every couple of years, I'll be at I don't do that many conventions now, but every couple of years it would be, excuse me, where I'd notice at conventions, people bringing that book about to have it signed, and they want to talk about the book or whatever, but it would always kind of come in waves. Right here, you just start hearing things about the book, or I'd start doing flash specifically from the book, and then it would kind of fade out again for a while, and it would go quiet for a while, and it would just kind of come in, but it would be like a few things and then go away. And now you guys came all the way out from Oz to talk about this thing, which is like, I'm eternally, like, I'm blown away that you guys came all the way out here to Yucca Valley, for one thing, it's very trippy, and it makes me even more honored to be part of it, that it means this much. Like, it means enough for you guys to be making this effort to come out here, and you talk to you talk to pretty much all of us that were in that first book at this point.
Yeah, we have.
And that's pretty crazy. I haven't talked to all of us who were in that first book in a while. So really cool, really cool. It's unlikely I'll ever get to do anything as cool, Like, I've been part of a bunch of really cool books, Breakfast Club book was probably the other one that was really cool, because I got to do it with friends too, but that Spider Murphy's book, man, it's if I wanted to get away with it, get away from it, I'd be bummed.
Mm.
It's like a smell you can't wash off you. So you
Yeah.
better like that fucking smell.
Yeah,
You're
dude,
wearing it, you know.
for sure.
That's pretty cool. I'm lucky for that.
It's it's I don't know, it's incredible. It's incredible to be out here in California, and like, you know, I was so thankful that you were open to like talking to us.
Oh
Like,
man,
we didn't sort of expect anything from anyone, and we were like, we'll just sort of, because we originally came out here to go and see Ed Hardy's shop before it closes.
Yeah,
As soon as we heard that Ed Hardy's shop was shutting, we were like, okay, we need to get out to America.
Mm.
And we thought, well, why don't we also take our podcast gear and like maybe catch a few stories and like talk to some people that we really like and really like their work.
Yeah.
that's fucking awesome. It's so cool that you guys did this. Like,
Oh, thanks, dude.
so cool.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
So fucking cool.
we have to travel all the fucking way out here. It's such a long trip, so we may as well make the most of it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take you guys to the park today. We're going to walk around there, and then we'll
Yeah.
go up to Pioneer Town.
Unreal,
Can't
man.
wait.
Keen.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking cool. Hopefully, we see some roadrunners.
Yeah.
I want you guys to see a roadrunner,
Sweet.
That'd be sick.
but you never know out here.
Yeah,
The
that's
camera might pick up something out there while we're
Yeah,
we've been
something in
talking.
the
You know,
background.
coyote looking at us or something. You never
Sussing
know,
us
right?
out.
well, like you were saying, there's lots of coyotes out here.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw some this morning on our walk. You know,
Dude, they're traipsing
Yeah.
around.
well, they like Chihuahuas and not like to be friends with them. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're very interested in us when we're walking around out there.
For everyone watching at home, I'll include a video that I took this morning of a wild coyote out by the Howse Ranch.
The Howse Ranch, I like that.
we're out here, and yeah, you'll be able to watch it and see what we saw this morning, which is
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful
It's
out
very
here.
cool out here, but it's very it's not convenient. It's a really hard place to live. People should not move
Yeah, you
here.
definitely
it's
don't wanna
really,
be
I don't
leaving.
recommend it unless you're cool, and then you should totally move here. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so sick, man. And yeah, thank you again for having us. Like,
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, Bridget and I are stoked to have you guys here, and just appreciate that you made that hike all the way out here. When
Yeah.
you're driving down the dirt road, I saw you last night, and I was out there with a flashlight.
Yeah.
And I was like, these poor guys, like they're like, what the fuck
We're
did we
looking
just?
around.
Why did we tell this guy we're gonna drive out to fucking, you know?
It was an adventure.
Dude,
yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
We
you never
love
know. I mean, you could have got anything. I could have showed you my wall of like, my wall with all kinds of pin marks in them where broadcasts are coming from. Be like, look, dude, I got to tell you about this thing. You know, I don't know anybody. Yeah, I mean that guy I think probably lives down the street.
Hell yeah.
But it's pretty cool down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a trek. We left San Diego yesterday afternoon and it started getting darker. It gets dark quite early around here at this time of year. And yeah, it was crazy how much like traffic there is. Like
Oh yeah.
it's like so far into the desert. But yeah, we rocked up, went down to dirt road and yeah, saw you and made it here. It's been lovely. We got
Wow.
greeted by your little chihuahuas.
Yeah, especially that little chocolate colored one. He's so friendly.
Oh yeah, he loves us.
Fucker. Yeah, he's a dickhead. Oh man. But yeah, it's very cool living here. You know, I have to drive a lot and stuff, but definitely love it out here. It's been just really peaceful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, aside from the airplane, like it's like a recording studio out here. And if the
Oh.
wind isn't kicking up, you could record out here. You
It's
know,
dead silent.
it's
a
just
lot of
dead
the time.
silent. Yeah, it's just perfect dead space.
It's beautiful. There's
You-
like not a cloud in the fucking sky. So how long were you at Spider Murphy's for?
I think it was about 7.5 years. So it was end of May of 20 or end of June 2006 to December 2013. Yeah. But so about 7.5 years.
What was the like? You spent 7.5 years there. Like, I know you've got itchy feet. You decided you're like, I gotta keep moving. Gotta keep ticking.
Yeah, it felt time. It felt time to leave. Like, friends being what they are. Sometimes you feel like I need a break from my friends, and working with them. If you have to work, like just working so tight with people and stuff like that, you think, I think I just needed a change of scenery, I guess. And I think that's been most of the time when I've left, unless I've moved somewhere else, where I just want to be in a different environment. Like some thing will go off in my head that it's time to move on, you know? And I knew I wasn't going to be in the second Spider-Murphy's book and all that stuff if I left. And it just felt like it was time to move on, you know? And it was the single hardest shop I've ever, like, most of the time when I leave shops, honestly, it's not terribly difficult. Like, I guess because I've worked in a lot of shops and I've always kind of seen it as like, look, it's, you know, unless it is a personal thing, but most of the time it's not. It's like, it's just time for me to go. And I always think like people who are your friends and actually know you and care about you and they're not petty and whatever, understand that. If they don't, then I can't control that either, you know? And it just feels like it's time to move on. I mean, some people work in one shop for 20 years and other people in 23 years will work in a lot of shops, you know? Until you find the yours, you know, what's going to be yours. So, yeah. So I think it was just that chapter of my life, and it was time to, you know, for the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you go after?
Then I went over to Seventh Son, and at the time Luke Stewart and Eric Reith owned it. Jason Condell also opened it, but he had Artwork Rebels up in Portland then. And then Eric Reith left. He opened his shop on the East Coast, Ghost in the Machine. But yeah, so I went over to a Luke Stewart shop in Soma in San Francisco. Yeah.
Awesome. We were just staying in Soma. It's a rad part of the world.
Is it? You like it?
Yeah, we had a good time. It was a bit ghetto, but
if you like the smell of human shit, Soma is. You know, if you're nose blind, I'd say move to Soma.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
You're like, fucking smells great. You
There's
know,
definitely a lot of poop booze around. Holy.
yeah, we were talking about it last night. Zuzzy stood in one.
Oh yeah.
You stood in a human
yeah.
shit.
Goodbye to those shoes.
Yeah,
You didn't keep
yeah.
them, did you?
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I'm
still-
wearing them. I've already
ya?
got the one pair of shoes.
Well, I buy some new shoes, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You wore those in my house. Ah, man. Ah.
I swear to God, it was dog shit.
It wasn't
Yeah,
dog
it was
shit.
dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of dogs.
There was definitely
Dogs that
not.
wipe their asses with McDonald's bags. I love Soma.
Oh, dude. It wasn't fresh, if that's what everyone's wondering.
It definitely
You know,
was fresh.
You've been sitting there a while, so it was all dried up, and it was
Nah.
It was less shit than it was a manure.
Nah.
If you ran a Geiger counter over that thing, it would have been.
Yeah, probably the elephant's footprint.
Yeah. Sorry, I have too many thoughts. I've seen too many things in San Francisco.
Oh man.
It's an interesting
bet.
place, hey. With like it's got a lot of social problems.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
people.
got a lot of problems. I mean, San Francisco still has the vibe that makes it awesome, in my opinion. Of course, this is just from a 55-year-old dude now. It still has a lot of the things that make it awesome, but has a lot less of the things that make it awesome, like music venues and cool bars and stuff like that, and just the overall culture. It's just a harder. I feel like that for the people who live there, it's just a harder place to live way harder place to live than it used to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, it's fucking Thunderdome over there.
Yeah, it's
You
people
know?
breaking into cars
All
and
the
all
time.
sorts.
Oh yeah, and Wild West, but like not in a no horses involved. You know, and it's not cool.
Yeah.
But that's just my. You know, I know like a lot of people are like, fuck you, dude. I love San Francisco. That's just that's why I live out in the sticks now. You know, it's not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we spent a pretty brief time out in San Francisco, but we still loved it. You know, like obviously it's got its problems, but it's like it's a different place, and I can definitely see the appeal for people that do live there. And yeah, it's a really rad place, and I do recommend everyone listening and watching to come and check it out.
Yeah, just watch where you stand.
Don't rent a car and bring it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you said you had a problem with that.
Well, I just car break-ins. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll break into anything and everything.
It's crazy,
Nothing- Yeah, it's yeah.
Rough place.
2 men enter, 1 man
The
leaves.
Thunderdome.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
Who run Bartertown?
Can we
That's
talk
the
about? Can we talk a little about your voice acting?
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
your
we talked about
voiceover.
that this morning. Yeah. So yeah, when I moved to San Diego in 2019, I had this itch that I'd always wanted to scratch. I was never going to walk away from tattooing or any such thing, but I'd always been interested in voice work, like voice acting specifically, like movie trailer stuff and that kind of thing. Oh, that's super interesting. But I was really interested in like character, like voicing characters for video games, characters for animated stuff. Anything vibey, interesting, and especially like the horror genre. Anyway, I was just super into it, interested in it. And when I moved to San Diego, I wasn't tattooing that much, and I just and Bridget, she supports every crazy fucking idea I have. I was like, hey, I'm gonna spend a bunch of money and get a booth built, and buy a bunch of expensive mics and preamps, and hire acting coaches. And I'm gonna try to learn about this thing. She's like, okay. And then, so I did that. And, so I started doing auditions and stuff. And I did, I think I did 9 paid jobs. So I did two jobs for Netflix and a bunch of other random stuff, Yeah, it was fun to do. It was really fun to do. I mean, I still do, one of my oldest friends, we go back to 2nd grade, back to 1977. He's a retired Air Force major. He runs an air show up in Grass Valley, and I do their yearly radio commercial for the air show. So that's the only voice work I still do. But hey, yeah, it's just if I get interested in something, it might itch so bad that I have to scratch it and just do it and learn about it. And it's really fun to do. And like I was telling you guys earlier, I still get to use a lot of the things that I learned about audio processing and stuff when I record music, tracking guitars, doing anything like that. I understand way better how to record, how to process, how to set up mics, how to all because I had to learn it, how to do voice work. So it's like, it's just cool things to learn. Some people learn other languages or like, they go to like Peru or whatever. That's their interest. That's what they do. I just like learn about new things, know? And, and they're almost never connected to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem like quite a multifaceted person. Like, you seem to have your interests in a lot of different things, and you seem to really, if you find it interesting, you delve fully into it and learn all there is to learn about it.
And multifaceted, or as the clinical diagnosis, severe ADHD. And that's how I've always kind of handled it. Is I just, like don't ask me to recite anything that I learned in school ever.
Yeah, hell yeah, party time.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you anything, that I learned in school, but I'll recite stuff from movies or anything that like I connected to and interested in. It's locked in there.
Yeah,
and I just lock on it. Anything I'm not interested in, it just goes away. And I've always, if I lock in, man, I lock in hard on things, and I just just cool. You want to know about it,
Yeah, I'm kind of like that a lot of ways too. I like picking up random, just hobbies and whatever it is, and delving fully into it. It's super satisfying. It's something I always like kind of looked up to when I was growing up, as people who just know how to do shit and do it well.
Yeah.
Like, it's super sick.
It's always super interesting when someone just has some weird random skill.
Yeah. And
you're like,
good at it.
It's not that it serves you. Like my son is amazing at juggling. He's amazing at juggling. It's like, for all intents and purposes, like it's a useless skill, right? But when he breaks that out sometimes, if he decides to break that out, people are like, fuck.
What the hell?
It's super nerdy and stuff. Sorry, Trav. He knows, like, but he's awesome at it. Yeah. And it's just one of those weird skills. Like, what you learn that? What are you going to be in the circus? Like, no, he's a GM at a bar. But it's a fun skill to have.
What is he? How many balls can he juggle? Or is it just the 3?
He can juggle. He can juggle a bunch. He juggles bowling pins. He'll juggle swords. He'll juggle all kinds of shit.
What the hell?
Like proper carny kind of. Yeah, like some. It's pretty funny. It just. He was like he was a theater kid. Like he has a theater degree from SF State, and he's just always been he's a theatrical guy, right? He's always performing, and juggling was just one of the things when he was in like junior high. He took a trip to New York. and he busked on the street juggling and made some money busking on the street. Just on his buddies were like, "I'll dare you to," and so he did it. And
Sick.
he was like, "What a weird, goofy thing! Like a kid juggles. Like, of course, here's some money juggling. Like, yeah, fucking good for you, dude. I'm not gonna, fuck, awesome.
Crazy. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
he's just. But Trav, his name is Travis. He's like me. When he gets interested in something, he just wants to learn about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't know any other way to be. If I'm not interested in something, good luck getting it in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Bloodborne pathogen tests, shit like that. I don't give a fuck about that stuff. Like, I'm not saying I pay people to take them for me, because that would be wrong. I'm just saying they're stupid.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting being able to learn just random skills and stuff. Like, people are too quick to jump to how you can monetize that and make a career out of it. Like, sometimes you don't want to do that shit. You just want to learn it because you can.
Totally.
Why do you do anything?
Totally.
But yeah, no, it's sick, man. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's you just have things that are fun. Yeah, that's another like commentary to what you're talking about is like, how can you make money with that? It's like, dude, what if I just enjoy doing it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
We don't have to poison the well so quickly.
Yeah, dude, you could sell those videos of you cutting down a tree. Like, I have my pants on when I do it, so I don't know. Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, you can sell anything. You could sell that. I know you guys know what I'm just quoting.
Oh,
What do you call it? I was dreaming. Yeah. Took a second.
The castle.
Yeah.
For everyone watching at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him he's dreaming.
Tell him he's dreaming.
How much do you want for it? $35. Tell him he's dreaming.
Ergonomic chairs.
It's interesting, eh? Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Bloody hell.
Yeah, but I guess it's like, what is the point of life? It's like, well, at least is to do things that interest you. If you got to be here, try to be interested in what you're doing, right? Like, as long as we have to be here, however long that is, we're stuck here. So try to be entertained.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you only get one life.
You only get one, apparently, that we know of.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, some people got it figured out, but yeah, apparently I don't.
I think you seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
You seem to have your
hanging
shit
on
figured
by
out.
hanging on by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah,
Somehow.
that's what makes it interesting, though. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You got a nice place out here. You seem to have shit sorted. I think
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much, Zuzz. I love living here. No, we're totally stoked. I trip out that when I wake up every day I live in the desert. Like, I grew up in the East Bay and up north. Like, it wouldn't have ever occurred to me to move to the desert. Like the desert of all places. And when I remember before when I was a kid or whatever, you picture the desert, it's just sand. You don't realize the desert is that's like the Sahara. But that's not the desert. Certainly not in California. It's a whole different thing.
There's plenty of life out here.
That's a beautiful place. It really is. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, it's so fucking hostile. It's so hostile, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, every little thing will fuck you up. You're like, yo, see that tumbleweed? Yeah, go grab it. And someone runs over there, tries to grab it. It'll shred you.
Yeah, what the hell?
They're like, everything has teeth. It get you. Every plant, like, oh, that's, fuck, everything.
All the cacti around here, they fuck you
These
up,
things,
man.
I got so many holes in my head from walking into those.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the beautiful things in life are quite hostile. You got to protect themselves some way.
That's right. That is a damn good point.
Yeah, roses have thorns.
Roses, everything. Yeah, that is.
There's
Every
that poison
rose
song.
has its thorn.
Yeah.
Every night
Has its dawn. Reminds me of that scene out of Bill and Ted when they're trying to get into heaven.
Oh, and is that the second one?
Yeah.
And death. Death is making him do like all these exercises, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's so good.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
So you're currently living out here in the Yucca Valley. You're driving fucking so much, right? You're driving down to San Diego to tattoo. You're driving out to Palm Springs to tattoo. It's a beautiful thing because you're getting to experience the best of both worlds of like this nice quiet life, like You said before, you know, you're in your 50s now, so like this is very welcoming for someone in their 50s to have like a quieter life. What's next? Like, where's life gonna go for you next? We'd love to, yeah, like in the next 10 years, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I mean, thanks, dude. Yeah, it's again, the idea like narrowing it down and stuff like that, and that was part of the idea of moving out here in the first place. So eventually, I'm definitely going to have a shop open out here somewhere at some point, and just build my thing here, like just be here, and really, yeah, just really settle into where I live, and keep focusing on my art. I want to be able to paint more. And as my hands, like I feel pretty physically good most of the time right now. Like I take care of myself, I work out, I do all that kind of crap. But as I get older, I realize like I'm not gonna be able to tattoo as much or comfortably as much. And so I'll hopefully be in a position where I can paint more, like a lot of us, right? Like any excuse to be able to paint more, like, but over time that's the goal, like shifting more and painting, tattooing less, you know. Like I never see myself retiring. I mean, first of all, I'll never be able to afford to retire, not in this country. But the second thing is, I think I'd go mental if I couldn't do this. It isn't doing something; it's doing this. I have to be able to do this in some form or fashion. Like, as we all know, right? Like, you have to be able to get your hands in there regularly.
Yeah.
And so, the goal would just be, yeah, to continue narrowing down the work that I do. You know, on the clientele that's super into getting what I want to do, and being able to paint more, and just, I don't know, smell the roses more. It's been, you know, and most of us, I'm sure it's a similar thing. It's just been an entire hectic existence for so many years. I've never been wherever there is. I never was there before. Now I'm there. I feel like I'm there, and my wife and I were on the same page about that. Like, moving here was super deliberate, and then so it's now doing all the things people do when they're like, "This is my community, this is where I live," and being okay, like being okay with yourself doing that.
Yeah.
Because I've never allowed myself to do that fully. You know, like I was always in someone else's shop, and being this late into my career and this age, still taking up space in someone else's shop, still coming in there. Still be like, yeah, I'm, 15 years older, 20 years older than the owner or more. How come you haven't got your shit together and open a shop? And it was like, because I didn't know where I was going to land. The way my brain works, I have to know, like, this is the thing for me to go, okay, and try to do it. Like, I could have built shops all along the way, I suppose, but I just, I always saw it as like, when I get my chance to do it, it's going to be the one thing.
Yeah.
And, maybe I wasted years thinking that way, but that was the way it went, you know. And we are where we are.
I think it's a really beautiful thing, though, right? So by you experiencing so many shops, dude, you've worked in like fucking hundreds of shops.
641.
666.
I worked in 666 shops.
But you're able to then cherry pick everything that you like about whichever shop. You know what doesn't work. You know what does work. You can cherry pick here, there, fucking everywhere, and go about building a fucking mecca, a tat mecca, under your ownership, your leadership, your fucking ideas, your everything. It's going to be a fucking blast.
Thanks, man. Dude, thank you. And that's going to be the goal. And like you're saying, like, with all these things that kind of go into it, I mean, like when you built your shop, it's like, there's so many things in your head and you have to pick out of those, and it's the same thing in a tattoo. You can't put it all in there, so you have to start in it, and again, strip it down to like what's the important thing. And so that's a whole other road you go down in your head, right? You're like, should I have this in a shop? What would I have in a shop? Well, definitely gonna have some fiberglass sharks on the wall, and definitely this and definitely that, and and then it's just like narrowing it down to the, you don't want it to be completely insane, but then again, you do kind of want it to be chaotic and insane.
100%.
It's a traditional shop. So, but having never done it before, I'm sure I've overthought it into the ground, and most people just do it when they're in their 20s or 30s. They just go, if I didn't think about it, just open a shop. What? got some flash put on the wall, got some flips,
My man.
put some books out front.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
You know,
It's a beautiful thing, but like, yeah, with all your experience and all your knowledge, it's going to be such a feather in your cap when it comes time to opening your little shop, whenever that may be, whether it's in 10 years or 5
it
years.
won't be 10 years. Yeah, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, trying to get it together pretty soon. So yeah, that'll be the goal.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Thank you so much, Jake. Yeah.
I can't wait to come out here and do some work for you one day.
Dude, please. I'd be stoked. I'd be stoked to have you
likewise.
guys back here, and yeah, we'll do some other shit other than we'll have more time and
Yeah.
do some other stuff out here.
Do some tats.
Hell
Do
yeah.
some
dude.
tats.
Yeah, because America seems like it's a really interesting place for tattooing. Like America seems to be where it's at for tattooing. Like from our point of view in Australia, like San Francisco Bay Area was always like the mecca of tats. You know, Lyle Tuttle,
Oh yeah.
Ed Hardy, that kind of stuff. Spider Murphy's. So it's like it's the place to be for tats. People are coming out here getting tats. Everyone's getting tattooed, and it's interesting because it doesn't seem to be as popular as like in Australia. Every single person is getting full coverage tattooing, but over here it's starting to become that way where like a lot more people are starting to get full coverage.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah. A lot. Yeah. Totally.
So it's a total growth industry, and it's so rad to be a part of this like
Yeah.
community of like weirdos and misfits that we're all like making these tats. You know?
Sick.
What an absolute honor it is to be out here, and I think we're probably going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're going to end on that. It's a really exciting avenue that I think you're going to take, Matt, and I really can't wait to see it from Instagram. I can't wait to see the progress
Yeah.
on like what happens next for you.
dude, thank you.
And see all these fucking drawn on fucking twisted sharks and
Yeah,
everything that you're gonna
dude.
make in the
Dude,
next.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's gonna be a really cool chapter. Just despite that it's later on in years or whatever, I'll still get to enjoy it quite a bit. God, I sound fucking old, don't I? Like I still get to enjoy my grandson. Send him anyway.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked. Sorry, I can't give you a clear answer. I'm really pumped for the idea of just building my weird little home out in the desert. You know,
Dude, yeah. I'm sure
it's a
gonna
really
be
cool
sick.
idea,
Yeah, it is, man. It is cool.
and
So sweet.
yeah, long time coming. So.
Yeah.
Any last words from you, Matt?
Well, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just really stoked that you guys came out here. I love how much people love tattooing. Who like those of us that do it. Like, I love how much we all truly love it. We love it enough to like travel over the world and talk to other people about it. It's just this magical thing. There's like this magical bond between people that do this thing for a living, and especially in the traditional sense, and I'm sure every vibe of tattoo has their little like communities or whatever, but like as far as traditional tattooing, I can only attest to really that is like this shared geekiness we all have for this one thing. We like geek out on this one thing, and we're totally not ashamed that we geek out on it or anything like that. And we geek out on it enough to just want to talk about it day and night, and that's how you're doing the thing in life that you should be doing, because you just can't stop thinking about it. It's not torturous.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
On that, goodbye. Thank you, everyone who watched.
Thank you for joining us in the desert.
That is our first ever episode videoed outside.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's awesome.
I hope you guys all enjoyed listening to Matt Howse. And
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm astonished. And thanks to anyone who listened to this whole goddamn thing.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're
you sick fuck out there, random person on the internet.
You know who you are.
dirty boy.
Rats get fat. We're out. See ya.